The cosmos stretched endlessly above Earth, its vastness both awe-inspiring and humbling. For millennia, humanity had gazed at the stars with wonder, dreaming of one day reaching them. But now, as an alien fleet descended upon their fragile blue world, those dreams turned into nightmares. A world unprepared in the small town of Larkspur, Colorado, Dr. Elena Voss stared at her computer screen, her brow furrowed in concentration. The data streaming across the monitor was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Gravitational anomalies emanating from deep within Earth's mantle. It wasn't seismic activity. It was something far stranger. She leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples. Her colleagues dismissed her findings as glitches or misinterpretations, but Elena knew better. There was a pattern here, a language written in physics waiting to be deciphered. Elena's research facility sat nestled in the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by towering peaks that seemed to touch the heavens themselves. Yet today, even the majesty of nature felt overshadowed by the ominous presence looming overhead. Reports of unidentified spacecraft entering Earth's atmosphere had flooded global news outlets for days. Governments scrambled to respond, but no one could explain why these extraterrestrials had come, or what they wanted. Commander Aaron Solis stood in the command center miles away, his sharp eyes scanning the live feed from military satellites. A seasoned leader with decades of experience, he exuded calm under pressure, but even he couldn't mask the unease creeping into his voice as he addressed his team. "They're not responding to our hails," he said, pointing to the massive ships hovering silently over major cities. "And they're scanning us, our infrastructure, our defenses, everything." "What do you think they want?" asked Lieutenant Maya Torres, his second-in-command. Aaron hesitated before answering. "Resources, territory, maybe just curiosity. Whatever it is, we need to prepare for the worst. The Star Masters arrive. The aliens called themselves the Star Masters, a collective of advanced civilizations that ruled countless star systems through sheer technological superiority. Their vessels shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting light in impossible ways. They moved with precision, each maneuver calculated to instill fear and submission. Humanity, with its primitive spacecraft and rudimentary weapons, was nothing more than an ant colony beneath their boots. On board the flagship, Overlord Calith observed Earth with cold detachment. His elongated frame and crystalline skin marked him as one of the highest-ranking members of the Star Masters. To him, this planet was little more than a curiosity, a speck of dust on the galactic map. But recent scans had revealed something unusual, faint energy signatures emanating from Earth's core. These readings matched ancient records of a long-lost civilization, one rumored to have wielded unimaginable power. Calith summoned his council, a group of advisors who shared his disdain for weaker species. "This world holds secrets," he declared, his voice resonating like thunder. "We must uncover them and claim them for ourselves." "But humans may resist," cautioned Counselor Zinara, her translucent form rippling with concern. "They are unpredictable, volatile creatures." Calith waved a hand dismissively. "Their resistance will be short-lived. If necessary, we shall crush them." Dr. Voss's discovery back in Colorado, Elena continued her work tirelessly. Her latest scans revealed strange fluctuations near a dormant volcanic region in Iceland. Against protocol, she decided to investigate personally. Armed with portable equipment and accompanied by a small team of geologists, she boarded a plane bound for Reykjavik. The journey was grueling, taking them through rugged terrain blanketed in snow. When they finally reached the site, Elena felt a chill run down her spine, not from the biting wind but from the eerie silence that enveloped the area. As her team set up sensors, she noticed peculiar markings etched into the rock face. They resembled symbols, though their meaning eluded her. "Dr. Voss," one of her assistants called out, "you need to see this." Elena rushed over to find a fissure in the ground, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. The readings were off the charts, energy levels far beyond anything natural. She knelt beside the crack, her heart pounding. This wasn't geothermal activity. This was something else entirely. Without warning, the ground trembled violently. The fissure widened. releasing a pulse of energy so intense it knocked everyone off their feet. For a moment, the sky itself seemed to shimmer, as if reality itself was bending. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. Elena struggled to her feet, her mind racing. Had they triggered something? And if so, what? First contact news of the incident spread quickly, reaching Commander Solis within hours. He immediately dispatched a reconnaissance unit to secure the site. By the time they arrived, however, the Star Masters had beaten them to it. Hovering drones descended from the sky, their mechanical limbs probing the fissure with surgical precision. Elena watched helplessly as her discovery was taken away. When the drones detected her presence, they trained their weapons on her and her team. "Do not move," came a disembodied voice, speaking in perfect English. "You are trespassing on property claimed by the Star Masters." Before Elena could respond, Commander Solis's forces arrived, engaging the drones in a fierce firefight. The battle was brief but brutal, ending only when the Star Masters withdrew, leaving behind a clear message. Earth belonged to them now. Decoding the past back at her lab, Elena pored over the data collected during the expedition. The symbols she'd seen earlier began to make sense. They were part of an ancient code, fragments of which had been scattered across Earth's history. Each piece hinted at a civilization older than any recorded human culture, one capable of harnessing planetary-scale power. As she pieced together the puzzle, a chilling realization dawned on her. Earth wasn't just a random target for the Star Masters. It was a relic of this forgotten race, and buried deep within its core lay a mechanism designed to protect the planet from invaders. Elena contacted Commander Solis, sharing her findings. At first, he was skeptical, but the evidence was undeniable. Together, they formulated a plan: activate the mechanism before the Star Masters could exploit it. The countdown begins. Tensions escalated as the Star Masters issued an ultimatum. They demanded access to Earth's core, threatening annihilation if their demands weren't met. Global leaders convened emergency meetings debating whether to comply or resist. Meanwhile, protests erupted worldwide, with millions rallying against surrender. Elena worked around the clock, decoding the final pieces of the ancient code. With each breakthrough, the picture became clearer. The mechanism required a living host to interface with its systems, a process that would likely prove fatal. Despite the risks, she prepared herself mentally, knowing that failure meant extinction. Commander Solis, meanwhile, mobilized Earth's remaining forces. Though vastly outnumbered and outgunned, humanity refused to go quietly into the night. Every soldier, every civilian, understood the stakes. This wasn't just about survival, it was about proving that Earth wouldn't bow to tyranny. As the deadline approached, Elena and Solis found themselves standing side by side, united by a shared purpose. The fate of their world rested in their hands and in the mysterious power slumbering beneath their feet. Above them, the Star Masters prepared for war, unaware that they were about to awaken something far greater than themselves, something that had waited eons to rise again. The pulse from Iceland had been more than a warning. It was a call to arms. Humanity now stood on the precipice of annihilation, its survival dependent on unlocking the secrets buried within Earth's core. The sleeping giant stirred, its dormant power echoing through the planet like a heartbeat long silenced. But as Dr. Elena Voss and Commander Aaron Solis prepared to confront this ancient force, they couldn't ignore the growing dread in their hearts. Could they control what they were about to unleash? A fragile alliance. Elena stared at the holographic projection hovering above her desk, a swirling map of Earth's mantle overlaid with glowing lines representing energy conduits. Each line pulsed faintly, mimicking the rhythm she'd felt during the fissure incident. She traced one conduit with her finger, her mind racing. "It's alive," she whispered to herself. "Not just machinery, something sentient." Commander Solis entered the room, his boots clicking against the tiled floor. He carried an air of authority, but fatigue shadowed his sharp features. "Any progress?" he asked, leaning against the wall. "I think so," Elena replied, turning to face him. The conduits form a network, like veins feeding into a heart. If we can locate the central node, we might be able to interface with it. And activate the sleeping giant? She hesitated. Yes, but there's no guarantee we'll survive the process. Solus crossed his arms, his jaw tightening. We don't have a choice. The Star Masters are mobilizing. If we don't act soon, they'll rip Earth apart looking for answers. Their partnership was uneasy at best. Solus valued action over theory, while Elena relied on meticulous research and caution. Yet despite their differences, they shared a common goal: protecting humanity. Over time, mutual respect began to bridge the gap between them. Time's running out, Solus said finally. What do you need? A team to accompany me to the activation site, and someone who can keep the Star Masters off our backs while we work. Solus nodded grimly. I'll handle that. Just make sure whatever you're planning works. The Star Masters' fury above Earth, the Star Masters convened aboard their flagship. Overlord Kaleth paced the command deck, his crystalline skin shimmering with barely contained rage. They've tampered with forces beyond their comprehension, he snarled. If they succeed in activating the mechanism, it could destroy us all. Counselor Zainara floated nearby, her ethereal form pulsing with anxiety. Perhaps it's time to reconsider your approach, Overlord. These humans may yet prove useful allies. Kaleth spun around, his voice booming. Useful? They are primitives, incapable of understanding the true nature of power. No, they must be subdued, annihilated if necessary. But not everyone agreed. Among the council, whispers of dissent grew louder. Some questioned Kaleth's obsession with conquest, arguing that Earth's secrets should be studied rather than plundered. One counselor, a diminutive being named Sither, dared to speak openly. Your arrogance blinds you, Kaleth. Push too hard and you risk awakening something none of us can control. Kaleth dismissed the warning with a wave of his hand. Enough. Prepare the fleet for invasion. We strike before they can finish their work. Race against time back on. Earth chaos reigned. Cities burned under relentless bombardment from the Star Masters' orbital weapons. Refugees flooded underground bunkers, their faces etched with terror. Communications flickered in and out as EMP bursts disrupted global networks. Despite the devastation, pockets of resistance fought back, led by commanders like Solus who refused to surrender. In the midst of the carnage, Elena's team raced toward the activation site, a remote location deep beneath the Indian Ocean. Submersibles carried them through pitch-black waters, guided only by sonar readings and faith in Elena's calculations. The journey was perilous. Every creak of the vessel reminded them how fragile their mission and their lives truly were. As they descended further, the water pressure increased, straining the submersible's hulls. Finally, they reached the target zone, a cavernous expanse illuminated by bioluminescent organisms clinging to jagged rock formations. At the center of the cavern loomed a massive structure, a towering spire etched with the same symbols Elena had deciphered in Iceland. This is it, she murmured, all mingling with fear. The central node. Her assistant, Dr. Raj Patel, scanned the structure with handheld equipment. Energy levels are off the charts. Whatever this thing is, it's holding itself in check, for now. Elena stepped closer, her gloved hand brushing against the spire's surface. A faint hum resonated through her bones, as though the structure recognized her presence. She activated her neural interface, a device designed to sync human brainwaves with alien technology, and initiated the connection sequence. The reaction was immediate. Streams of light erupted from the spire, spiraling upward like tendrils reaching for the surface. The ground trembled violently, forcing the team to brace themselves. Then, a voice, not spoken aloud, but transmitted directly into their minds, spoke. Who dares awaken me? Elena froze, her breath catching in her throat. She hadn't expected communication. Summoning her courage, she responded mentally. I am Dr. Elena Voss, representing humanity. We seek your aid in defending our world. Silence followed, heavy and oppressive. Then, you are unworthy. Before Elena could respond, the spire surged with energy, knocking her off her feet. Alarms blared as the submersible systems began to fail. "We're losing power," Raj shouted. "We need to evacuate." "No," Elena snapped, struggling to stand. "If we leave now, we lose everything." The struggle continued, each second feeling like an eternity. Slowly, the spire's energy stabilized and the voice returned. "Prove your worth." Elena didn't hesitate. She opened her mind fully to the spire, allowing it to access her memories, her fears, her hopes. It was excruciating, like having her soul laid bare. When it was over, the voice spoke again, softer this time. "Very well, I will rise, but heed my warning. My power comes at a cost." The wrath unleashed high above, the Star Masters launched their final assault. Orbital cannons fired relentlessly, obliterating entire cities in seconds. Kaleth watched the destruction unfold with grim satisfaction. "Soon, they will beg for mercy," he declared. But then, something extraordinary happened. Across the globe, the ground began to quake. Oceans churned violently, sending tsunamis crashing against coastlines. Skies darkened as storms the likes of which Earth had never seen formed almost instantaneously. From the depths of the Indian Ocean rose a colossal entity, a being made of pure energy, its form shifting and morphing like liquid starlight. The Star Master's fleet faltered as the entity unleashed a devastating barrage of energy beams, slicing through their ships like paper. Kaleth stared in disbelief as his once invincible armada crumbled before his eyes. "Impossible," he breathed. On the ground, humanity watched in awe and terror as the sleeping giant wreaked havoc. While it drove back the invaders, its power proved uncontrollable. Entire regions were consumed by fire and earthquakes, leaving millions dead or displaced. Elena realized too late the truth behind the spire's warning. The giant cared nothing for collateral damage. Moral dilemma amidst the chaos, Elena wrestled with guilt and doubt. Had she made the right decision? Was saving humanity worth sacrificing so much of it? Solis found her huddled in the ruins of a command bunker, tears streaming down her face. "We did what we had to do," he said gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. "But at what cost?" she cried. "Millions are dead because of me." "You gave us a fighting chance," Solis countered. "Now we have to find a way to stop this thing before it destroys everything." Elena wiped her eyes, determination replacing despair. There has to be a way to stabilize it, to limit its destructive capabilities. Together, they devised a plan. Using data gathered during the initial activation, Elena identified key points in the giant's energy matrix that could be targeted to dampen its output. Solis assembled a strike team to plant explosives at these locations, knowing full well that failure meant certain death. Turning point as the strike team moved into position, Kaleth faced mutiny within his ranks. Several high-ranking officers accused him of leading them to ruin and demanded his removal. In a desperate bid to regain control, Kaleth ordered the deployment of a doomsday weapon, a superweapon capable of obliterating Earth entirely. When news of the weapon reached Solis, he knew they couldn't afford to wait. "We go now," he told Elena, "with or without the explosives." Against all odds, the combined efforts of humanity and rogue elements of the Star Masters succeeded in disabling the doomsday weapon. Meanwhile, Elena managed to stabilize the giant's core systems, preventing it from consuming Earth, but leaving it weakened and vulnerable. Aftermath: as the dust settled, humanity emerged battered but alive. The Star Masters retreated, their empire fractured by internal strife. Overlord Kaleth, disgraced and broken, disappeared into exile, haunted by the consequences of his hubris. For Elena and Solis, the victory was bittersweet. They had saved Earth, but at a tremendous cost. As they stood together amidst the wreckage, watching the sun rise over a scarred but resilient world, they knew the road ahead would be long and difficult. Yet, amid the ruins, hope flickered like a flame refusing to die. The sleeping giant slept once more, its power dormant but intact. And somewhere deep within Earth's core, its ancient whispers echoed, a reminder of both the strength and fragility of life. The sleeping giant had awakened, and its fury knew no bounds. What began as Earth's salvation quickly spiraled into chaos, as the ancient weapon proved uncontrollable. Its power reshaped the planet in ways both awe-inspiring and catastrophic. For every Starmaster ship it obliterated, entire cities crumbled under its wrath. Humanity now faced a new enemy, one born from their own desperation. Unintended consequences. Dr. Elena Voss stood on the edge of a crater that hadn't existed days before. The ground beneath her feet was scorched black, radiating heat even hours after the giant's last outburst. She stared at the devastation, her mind replaying the events that had led them here. They had awakened the giant to save Earth, but instead it seemed bent on destroying everything, including them. This wasn't supposed to happen, she murmured, clutching a tablet displaying seismic data. The numbers were staggering. Earthquakes, registering over 9.0, tsunamis taller than skyscrapers, and atmospheric disturbances that defied explanation. It was as though the giant viewed Earth itself as expendable, a mere tool in its quest for annihilation. Commander Aaron Solis approached, his boots crunching against the ash-covered ground. "We need answers, Dr. Voss, fast." Elena turned to him, her face pale with exhaustion. "I'm trying, Commander, but this isn't just a machine, it's alive, sentient, and it doesn't care about collateral damage." Solis frowned. "Then, we shut it down. Completely." "It's not that simple," Elena countered. "Shutting it down could destabilize its core systems, causing an even bigger catastrophe. We're walking a razor's edge here." Behind them, the remnants of humanity struggled to survive. Refugees poured into makeshift camps, their eyes hollow with trauma. News feeds broadcast images of destruction, coastal cities swallowed by rising seas, forests reduced to ash, and skies choked with smoke. The giant's energy pulses disrupted communications, leaving many isolated and afraid. Elena clenched her fists. "We have to find a way to stabilize it, to make it stop targeting Earth. And how do you propose we do that?" Solis asked, his voice tinged with frustration. "I don't know yet," she admitted, "but I can't give up. Not now." Moral dilemma. Back at the command bunker, Elena pored over schematics of the giant's energy matrix. The central spire, in the Indian Ocean, remained active, its tendrils spreading across continents like veins feeding a monstrous heart. Each pulse sent shockwaves through the planet, triggering natural disasters on an unprecedented scale. Her assistant, Dr. Raj Patel, interrupted her thoughts. "If we sever the connections between the spire and the conduits, we might be able to contain the giant's influence." "But that would leave us defenseless against the Starmasters," Elena replied. "They'll see this as an opportunity to strike back. And if we don't, billions will die anyway." Elena sighed, rubbing her temples. Every decision felt like a gamble. Saving humanity meant risking its extinction. Protecting Earth meant sacrificing parts of it. She glanced at Solis, who was coordinating relief efforts with what little resources remained. His leadership kept morale intact, but even he couldn't hide the strain etched into his face. "What are your orders, Doctor?" Solis asked, joining the conversation. Elena hesitated. "We focus on stabilizing the giant first. Once it's under control, we'll deal with the fallout." Solis nodded grimly. "Understood. Just make sure whatever you're planning works." Overlord. Kaleth's descent above Earth. Overlord Kaleth watched the unfolding disaster with mounting despair. His once proud fleet lay in ruins, scattered across the void like broken toys. The Starmaster's Council had dissolved into infighting, with factions blaming each other for the catastrophic failure. Some called for immediate retreat, while others demanded retaliation. Kaleth, however, refused to abandon his mission. He believed the sleeping giant held secrets that could elevate the Starmasters to unparalleled heights, if only they could harness its power. But capturing such a force required subtlety, not brute strength. His arrogance had blinded him to this truth, costing countless lives and ships. As he gazed at Earth, now scarred and battered, a flicker of doubt crept into his mind. Was conquest truly worth the price? For the first time in centuries, Calith questioned the path he'd chosen. Perhaps there was another way, a way to coexist rather than dominate. Before he could act on these thoughts, a rogue faction within the Star Masters seized control of the flagship. Led by Admiral Voran, they sought revenge for their losses and vowed to annihilate Earth entirely. Their plan involved launching a planetary-scale weapon designed to crack Earth's crust and release the giant's core energy into space. Calith confronted Voran in the flagship's command center. "You'll doom us all," he roared. "The giant cannot be controlled," Voran sneered. "Then we'll destroy it, and Earth along with it." Calith realized too late that his obsession had fractured not only his empire but also his own resolve. As Voran prepared to fire the weapon, Calith made a fateful decision. He would ally with humanity to prevent mutual destruction. A fragile alliance, Elena received the transmission from Calith with disbelief. The Star Master's leader, the same, being who had brought ruin to Earth, was offering assistance. "Why should we trust you?" she demanded, her voice trembling with anger. "Because your survival is tied to ours," Calith replied. "If the rogue faction succeeds, none of us will live to see tomorrow." Solus listened intently, his hand resting on the hilt of his sidearm. "He's right," he said finally. "We don't have a choice." Reluctantly, Elena agreed to work with Calith. Together, they devised a daring plan: infiltrate the rogue faction stronghold and disable the planetary weapon before it could be fired. Calith provided coordinates and intelligence, while Solus assembled a joint human star master strike team. The mission was fraught with danger. The stronghold floated in low orbit, protected by layers of shielding and automated defenses. Breaking through would require precision and sacrifice. Elena insisted on accompanying the team, arguing that her knowledge of the giant systems might prove crucial. "You're staying here," Solus said firmly. "Your place is with the research." "No," Elena shot back. "This is my responsibility. If anything goes wrong, I need to be there to fix it." After a tense standoff, Solus relented. "Fine, but stay close to me." The final showdown. Strike team launched aboard a cloaked shuttle, slipping past the stronghold's outer defenses undetected. Inside, the corridors were eerily silent, illuminated by pulsating blue lights. The air hummed with latent energy, a reminder of the weapon's destructive potential. Elena's heart raced as they navigated toward the control room. Along the way, they encountered resistance from rogue Star Master soldiers, leading to fierce firefights. Despite heavy casualties, the team pressed on, driven by the knowledge that failure meant extinction. In the control room, Admiral Voran awaited them, his crystalline form glowing with malice. "You're too late," he sneered, activating the weapons countdown sequence. Without hesitation, Calith engaged Voran in combat, their blows shaking the very structure of the stronghold. Meanwhile, Elena worked furiously to override the system, her fingers flying across the console. "Almost there," she muttered, sweat dripping down her brow. Just as the countdown reached 0, Elena succeeded in disabling the weapon. The room erupted in cheers, but the victory was short-lived. A massive explosion rocked the stronghold, triggered by Voran's final act of defiance. The team barely escaped, ejecting in escape pods as the fortress disintegrated behind them. Stabilizing. The giant back on Earth, Elena used the data recovered from the stronghold to stabilize the giant's core systems. By rerouting excess energy into dormant conduits, she managed to curb its destructive tendencies. The storm subsided, the earthquakes ceased, and the skies cleared, for now. But the giant remained a looming presence, its power diminished but still formidable. Elena knew they had only bought themselves time, not a permanent solution. Reflection and resolve. As dawn broke over a battered Earth, Elena and Solus stood together overlooking the horizon. The world was scarred, but life persisted. Humanity had survived the wrath of the giant, emerging stronger and more united. "We did it," Solus said quietly. "For now." Elena replied. But this isn't over. The giant's secrets are still buried deep within Earth. And the Star Masters, they'll be back. Solus placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. One battle at a time, Doctor, one battle at a time. The dust had settled, but the scars remained. Earth bore witness to both its fragility and its strength, a testament to humanity's capacity to endure even in the face of unimaginable destruction. The sleeping giant slept once more, its power, subdued but not extinguished. For now it stood as a silent guardian, a relic of an ancient civilization whose secrets still lingered just beyond reach. Yet, as Dr. Elena Voss stared at the glowing fissure in Iceland that had started it all, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Rebuilding a shattered world months after the conflict with the Star Masters, humanity embarked on the arduous task of rebuilding. Cities lay in ruins, ecosystems were disrupted, and millions mourned loved ones lost to both war and natural disasters. But amidst the devastation, there was also hope, a collective determination to rise from the ashes stronger than before. In Reykjavik, makeshift shelters housed survivors who worked tirelessly to restore infrastructure. Engineers constructed modular housing units powered by renewable energy sources, while scientists studied the environmental changes wrought by the giant's awakening. Despite the challenges, a sense of unity emerged, a shared purpose born out of survival. Dr. Elena Voss dedicated herself to understanding the sleeping giant. Her lab, relocated to a secure facility near the Icelandic fissure, became ground zero for research into the ancient mechanism. With the help of her team, she analyzed data collected during the crisis, piecing together fragments of the giant's design and purpose. Each discovery brought new questions, deepening the mystery rather than resolving it. Commander Aaron Solus transitioned into a leadership role, guiding Earth's fractured nations toward cooperation. He spearheaded efforts to establish a global defense network, ensuring humanity would never again be caught unprepared. Though skeptical voices questioned whether such measures were necessary, Solus insisted they couldn't afford complacency, not when the Star Masters still lurked in the shadows. We've been given a second chance, he told world leaders during a summit in Geneva. Let's use it wisely. Overlord Calith's redemption, far above Earth. Overlord Calith drifted in exile aboard a derelict Starmaster vessel. Once revered as a conqueror, he now faced the consequences of his actions. The rogue faction's betrayal had shattered the Starmaster's empire, leaving behind a fractured coalition of species struggling to rebuild trust. Many blamed Calith for their losses, accusing him of hubris and poor judgment. But Calith saw things differently. His encounter with humanity, and the sleeping giant, had forced him to confront uncomfortable truths about his people's legacy. For centuries, the Star Masters had expanded their dominion through force, subjugating weaker civilizations under the guise of bringing order to chaos. Yet, what had they truly achieved? A galaxy rife with resentment and instability. Haunted by these thoughts, Calith decided to act. Using what little resources remained, he reached out to former allies and enemies alike, proposing a radical idea: a galactic council where all species, regardless of power or status, could have a voice. It was a bold move, one that risked further alienating those loyal to the old ways. But Calith believed it was the only way forward. Conquest has brought us nothing but ruin, he declared in a holographic message broadcast across star systems. It is time we seek a new path, a path of coexistence. To his surprise, some listened. Others resisted, viewing his proposal as weakness. But slowly, tentatively, the seeds of change began to take root. Humanity's place in the galaxy is, Earth healed, so too did its relationship with the remnants of the Star Masters. Diplomatic envoys traveled between worlds, fostering dialogue and forging alliances. Humanity, once dismissed as primitive, earned respect for its courage and ingenuity. Stories of their stand against the sleeping giant spread throughout the galaxy, inspiring others to challenge the Star Master's dominance. Elena, played a key role in these diplomatic efforts, sharing her findings about the giant with representatives from various species. She emphasized the importance of understanding ancient technologies responsibly, warning against repeating the mistakes of the past. The giant wasn't created to destroy. It was created to protect, she explained during a presentation aboard a neutral space station. Its creators understood the dangers of unchecked expansion. We must learn from their wisdom. Her words resonated deeply, sparking debates about the ethics of technological advancement and the balance between progress and preservation. Some argued that humanity's survival proved they deserved a seat at the galactic table. Others remained wary, concerned about the potential misuse of Earth's newfound power. Unanswered questions. Despite her progress, Elena couldn't ignore the lingering mysteries surrounding the sleeping giant. During her research, she uncovered references to similar constructs scattered across the galaxy, each tied to the same ancient civilization. These revelations raised troubling possibilities. Were there other giants waiting to awaken, and if so, what triggered them? One night, as she reviewed data alone in her lab, a pattern emerged. The symbols etched into Earth's conduits matched those found on artifacts recovered from distant star systems. Connecting the dots, Elena realized the giants weren't isolated entities. They formed part of a vast network spanning the cosmos. "What were you protecting?" she whispered, tracing the glowing lines on her screen. "And from what?" Her assistant, Dr. Raj Patel, entered the room holding a cup of coffee. "Still working late, I see." "I think I've found something," Elena said, excitement coloring her voice. "Look at this." Raj examined the data, his eyes widening. This changes everything. If the giants are connected, then activating one might trigger the others?" Elena nodded grimly. "Which means we're not done yet, not by a long shot. A new era." Though the immediate threat had passed, humanity faced a future fraught with uncertainty. The sleeping giant remained dormant, its presence a constant reminder of the cost of survival. Governments debated how best to safeguard its secrets, while activists called for transparency and accountability. Meanwhile, Commander Solis oversaw the construction of Earth's first interstellar fleet, a modest but promising step toward exploring the stars. Equipped with technology reverse-engineered from the giant systems, these vessels represented humanity's first tentative steps beyond its solar system. On a quiet evening, Solis joined Elena atop a hill overlooking the Fisher site. The northern lights danced across the sky, painting the horizon in hues of green and purple. For a moment, they simply stood in silence, taking in the beauty of a world reborn. "You know," Solis said finally, "we've come a long way since that day in Colorado." Elena smiled faintly. "And we've got a long way to go, but at least we're moving forward." Solis chuckled. "Always the optimist. Someone has to be." Below them, workers continued repairs, their lights twinkling like stars against the darkened landscape. Above, the cosmos stretched endlessly, its mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, guided by lessons learned from both triumph and tragedy. Final reflections. As Elena returned to her lab, she paused before the fissure one last time. Its glow pulsed softly, almost reassuringly. Whatever the future held, she knew one thing for certain: Earth's journey was far from over. The sleeping giant had awakened not just a weapon but a legacy, a call to explore, to understand, and to protect. In the distance, the hum of machinery echoed through the valley, a symphony of resilience and determination. Humanity had faced its darkest hour and emerged stronger. Now, armed with knowledge and resolve, they prepared to venture into the unknown, to uncover the secrets of the stars and claim their place among them. And somewhere deep within Earth's core, the sleeping giant stirred ever so slightly, its whispers carrying echoes of a forgotten age. Masters reborn,